Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vitvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So today we are starting the series on inner strength. The topic is develop inner strength and take charge of your life. I'll be taking select verses from the ancient scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, and also the message I'll be taking from all the scriptures. See, it is very important for you to understand that study of scriptures per se mean nothing. You will only become a scholar. But what is more important is to take that deeper message and put it into practice in our lives. You know, when we started the Bhagavad Gita series a few years back, I think it was in 2014 or something. So week after week, we were getting into it, in a very deep way, the yogic approach. And there were a few people who were asking, so when will we finish the Bhagavad Gita? Now there is nothing like finishing your study of any scripture, because see, the moment you want to finish a particular scripture, whether it's Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or Bhagavatam, whatever it is, then your approach has become external, intellectual, mere intellectual study of the scriptures. Now that is not going to help you in any way. You will just gain more information. So what I'm trying to teach is the yogic approach, which is what they practice in the Himalayas, which is what all masters, all the siddhas, yogis have practiced, and they have created a tremendous transformation, inner transformation. And that yogic approaches, you are not so much bothered about how much of text you cover, the length of the text, but rather you focus on going deep into each and every aspect and absorbing them, installing them in your system, so that it creates an inner transformation, so that it awakens the energy from within, so that your consciousness rises. So I have mentioned in this topic as select verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Now it's not merely the Bhagavad Gita. Why the Bhagavad Gita? That is just another text which gives immense wisdom. But what you need to understand is we are not going to study the text as a text per se, but we are going to study our life. The study of your life is spirituality, not study of some book outside. We are only using, for example, here in this context of Bhagavad Gita, as a tool by which you can study your own life. You can study what is happening within you. At the outset, this is very important to distinguish between these two. Because if you merely want external information, you can just today you can do an internet search. I think you will get everything, including the 4 Vedas are also available online. The entire Bhagavad Gita translation, everything you will get. But that is only external information. So don't worry so much about now what verses I am going to take. It does not matter, but how to build, how to develop this inner strength by this study. That is the key. So why I have chosen this topic right now is because there is so much of turmoil happening in the world today due to the COVID-19 situation, and the governments have also been forced to issue the directives, lockdown periods. And I find that people are getting very much frustrated because on one hand there is fear about this virus, on the other hand this lockdown periods and the various other restrictions are causing a lot of problem in terms of the workflow, and then people are not used to staying indoors for too long. So that is creating kind of psychological issues. So this is what is happening everywhere. And I'm finding that constantly people are focusing on the problems. So we have to become solution oriented. So if we want to overcome all this, one is the external approach, but the other is the inside approach. From inside you tackle things outside. And what is most necessary for that is your inner strength. In the ancient wisdom, there is a beautiful law which has been given, how to overcome the negative. what they say, what these great masters say is that if you want to overcome negativity, you should assert the positive. It is not by focusing on the negativity more that you will be able to overcome the negative, but it's by asserting the positive that you can overcome the negative. This is a beautiful law which you need to understand. When something goes wrong outside, the tendency of the mind is to immediately get caught up with the problem and get completely bogged down. Day in and day out, you start thinking about the problem, the negatives of life. Now, as a first step, you need to apply this law. If you want to take charge of your life, if you want to gain control over your life, you need to assert the opposite. What do we mean by asserting the opposite? Supposing a person has tremendous fear, let us say. Now, by saying, I want to overcome fear, now he can never overcome the fear. But if he starts asserting the opposite of fear, let us say courage. Now, if he starts saying, I am courageous, and if he starts focusing all his energies on the quality of courage, now slowly, what will happen is that the fear will be dispelled and courage will be substituted. Courage will substitute the fear. If you have a particular disease, to constantly focus on the disease and say, I want to overcome this disease, I want to get rid of this disease, will not help you. You will have to focus on the positive, which is health. What are the things which will give me health? What are the things which will build my resistance, the immune system? What are the things which will make that particular organ more healthy or my entire body healthy? So when you start thinking on those lines, only then you will be able to overcome that disease. So this is a very important law which you need to apply in your life. First you need to absorb and then you got to apply. So let us take this present situation. Okay, the coronavirus is affecting a lot of people. Now, what I'm finding is that everyone is focusing on the virus. Day in and day out, right from morning till night, you're going on gathering more and more information about the virus and the negative effects of that virus. How many people it affected, what happened, what are the symptoms. You're going on. The repetition, of the negative is happening. And the most amusing part is everybody is putting some video or other based on this COVID-19. And suddenly a lot of meditations, I was shown a few meditations which have sprung up by some so-called gurus. They're saying meditation to fight against the coronavirus. It is very, very amusing when I see that, because the very idea of meditation is to completely detach yourself from the negative and fill yourself with positivity. and get into that state, the supreme state of silence, that infinite bliss. But if you're going to meditate in order to overcome or in order to attack the virus or something like that, then your mind is going to be on the virus only, on the negative aspect. You can never meditate. I have had some, of course there are a lot of questions. One person has asked a question whether she can do the chanting of some slokas every day in order to protect herself from this virus. Now let me tell you something. If you do anything out of fear, now that will not give you that strength. It will weaken you. Anything which is done out of fear will make you more weak. We'll be seeing all this in the coming weeks. Today I'm giving you an introduction. So if when you're doing prayer, if you're praying out of fear, then that will not really help you. If at all you want to do any kind of prayer, it should be to increase your positivity. It should be to develop your inner strength. So that is why I'm calling this series as Develop Inner Strength and Take Charge of Your Life. Many people have asked me, sir, can you take special lectures on how to face this coronavirus? I said, I will not do that. Within the lecture series and during the meditations, yes, here and there I'll give you tips which when you apply, you'll be able to overcome these challenges. But that should not be the main focus. So remember this law. It is not by denying the negativity that you can overcome the negative, but it is by asserting the positive that you can overcome the negative. So develop inner strength. This topic has many aspects. First is inner strength, developing inner strength. And then the second aspect is taking charge of your life, how to take charge of your life. Now, why I have put the second aspect of taking charge of your life is, what happens is generally when the mind picks up a lot of negative energy, slowly you will start feeling that your life is not under your control. Your life is not under your direct control. You'll feel that your life is slipping away. Now that is not a good sign at all, and especially when we talk of spiritual development, the inner strength and the feeling of control is very important. The moment you feel helpless, then that completely weakens you. It lowers your consciousness. If you go to the Upanishads, it is said, realization, enlightenment is for the strong, not for the weak. In the very invocatory prayers of the Upanishads, you will always find something is mentioned about, in one invocation, it says, may we hear whatever is auspicious. Bhadram karnebi shrunuyama devaha. Bhadram pashye makshabhirya jatraha. Means let me see what is auspicious. Auspicious means positive. Let me hear what is auspicious. May my limbs be strong. All my anga, sthirairangaihi, means every limb, let it be strong. So this is before you get into the Upanishads, in the very invocatory prayer. Even the small invocation which we do before we start every session, Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahano Bhunuktu. These are all very positive suggestions. Sahana Vavatu, may we be protected. May we enjoy. Tejasvinavadi tamastu means let this sadhana, the study which we are going to do, let it increase our tejas, the spiritual brilliance. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Peace. See, these are all positive suggestions which are being given to the mind. Why is it that every sadhana session, spiritual session is always started by chanting Om and then this invocation prayer? It is to fill yourself with a lot of positive energy. This is very, very important. So when we talk of inner strength, now we are talking of inner strength in all the areas of your life. So if you were to examine your life, you can do it in two ways. One is horizontally, externally, different aspects of life, different areas of life. Like you have the finance, you have work, you have relationships. Like this you can go on dividing. This is one way. The second way of looking at your life is in your own timeline, right from the day you were born till this moment, the various experiences which you have gone through in the timeline of your life. Now when I am talking of inner strength, the antar shakti, the shakti from within, the strength from within, I am talking about inner strength in both these aspects of life. Whether it is finance, whether it is relationships, whether it is work, everywhere you should be in a position of strength, not in a position of weakness. You know, the very word Bhagavad Gita, it means so much. Bhagavat means splendor. Bhagavan means one who is supreme. If you absorb the deeper messages of the Bhagavad Gita, you get that splendor. There are actually 6 qualities. I'm not getting into that directly now. You can get hold of that DVD, The Power of Gita, which I had released long back. That's in that I've explained this. The splendor, the 6 aspects which will come to you, like Yashaha means fame, Shrihi, the wealth. Like this, many aspects will come to you. So that is the inner strength. First of all, in all the aspects of life, externally. And second thing is, in your timeline, every moment of your life, in every experience, you should feel strong. You should have that inner strength. You should not feel helpless and weak. Now, just as you spend your time and effort in learning so many things in life, be it car driving or to write, to read, to learn a language, so many things. Similarly, this ancient wisdom is the science of building this inner strength. This is one aspect of the ancient wisdom. And you need to devote some time every day and you need to put in your effort in order to build your inner strength. If you want to build your muscles, you go to the gym and you do exercises. This you're able to understand because it's external, but it's the same thing with your inner personality too. Generally, we don't spend any time in developing our inner strength, and suddenly when a challenge comes, our mind gets so much stressed, we don't know what to do. So this is what is meant by developing inner strength at all levels of our personality. The physical level, that is the starting point. Then at the pranic level, the life force energy. Then at the emotional level, at the thought level, and at the spiritual level. So at every level of your personality, you need to fill yourself with this positive energy of inner strength, Shakti. Then you will find that your whole life comes under your control. You become the master of all your circumstances. Now, why I have used this phrase as take charge of your life, there is a message which I want to give through that. Now, what has happened is that the spiritual wisdom has been totally misunderstood today, and people think that spirituality means you should not take control over your life. You just surrender everything to God and then allow things to happen as they happen, and you just become passive in life. This is what is the misunderstanding of spirituality today. So spirituality is not about escapism, is not about leading a passive life. The confusion has come about because of these kinds of statements which are there in the ancient wisdom, and that is God is the ultimate controller of everything. Without that supreme power, nothing will happen. When these kinds of statements are read, so people have come to this wrong conclusion that therefore, what can we humans do? So let us become passive. I am often asked this question, why is that many spiritual people, they suffer, and people who are not, at least who don't call themselves spiritual, but they are successful in life, and they ask this question. Now that is because of this misunderstanding of spirituality. So two things are said by the great masters. One is that without that supreme power, that infinite power, nothing can move, nothing can happen in life. On the other hand, they also talk of the law of karma. They say you are responsible for your life. You need to take care of your life. So how do you reconcile these two? I'm just giving this to you in a nutshell. We'll be expanding all this as we go along. So when they say that God is responsible for everything, they are talking about the ultimate control. And when they say you are responsible for your life, they are talking about the direct cause and effect. For example, now you sow a seed and you water the seed every day. You ensure that no weeds grow, so you keep cutting off all the weeds. You do everything which is required. and then the seed becomes a plant, a tree, and starts giving out fruits. Now, if you take this simple action, you will find both these forces are at work. On one hand, you find your effort is very much required. You need to create the right soil, you need to sow the seed, the right seed, good quality seed, and then you need to water, you need to do so many things. So it is direct cause and effect. If you do all these things, you will, it will bear fruits. But now the question comes as to who has created this law. That if you sow the seed and if you do all this, it will become a plant, a tree, and it will start giving out fruits. Now, who has established this law? You may call it nature, you may call it God, you may call it any name you want, but it is some power which is beyond us. So when you look at it from that standpoint, God or that supreme power is responsible. Means without that supreme power, these laws themselves will not function. But when you look at it from the individual point of view, if you don't do what you have to do, even though all these laws are immaculately functioning, if you don't play your part, you will not get results in your life. This is the law of karma. One youngster asked me this question long back. Is it if I have to do hard work and only achieve success, then why do I need to pray to God? Why do I need to, what is God there for? It is a misconception, So when people take up spirituality, there is this tendency to become passive in life, where you say God will take care of everything. A great master, he said, God takes care of those people who take care of themselves. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse where Lord Krishna, he says, Paritranaya sadhunam, means I sambhavami yuge yuge. I will incarnate in every yuga in order to protect the good people, the righteous, and for destruction of unrighteousness. He says that. Now this is a very oft-quoted verse. Now people miss many points there. He says protection of good, which means you will have to put an effort to be righteous and goodness. If you and good, if you don't put that effort, then he says the protection will not be given. He's talking of that supreme law. So on one hand, you find that whenever the focus is on that infinite reality, these kind of statements are made. But whenever the focus is on the individual, then statements like you have to act, you have to sow the right seeds, you have to put an effort, those statements are made. So there is a general tendency to emphasize only on this aspect of life, which is everything is being taken care of by God. So slowly, what happens is that you develop a kind of helplessness. You don't do what you ought to do in life, and then you say, God will take care. It never happens that way. That is a very lazy approach. So when surrender to the higher is there, but no effort is being put in life, that will lead to laziness. The other side, when a lot of effort is put, but there is absolutely no surrender, then that will lead to ego. And the ego will ultimately cause the downfall of a person. So in the ancient wisdom, what they say is that you need to combine these two. You need to surrender to the infinite, at the same time put in all the efforts required in order to make your life better. This combination is the key. That is the theme of this series. Inner strength is developed by getting connected with the infinite, surrendering and getting connected with the infinite. But at the same time, you need to put in your effort practically. That is what is meant by take charge of your life. The combination of surrender and effort. So why is it that many spiritual people are suffering? Because they don't do what they ought to do. Why is it that many people who may not be externally spiritual, how is it that they are successful? Because one aspect at least they are following properly, and that is they put effort. It is impossible that in the long run a person can be successful and he can attract abundance into his or her life without putting in effort. It is impossible. So this combination of surrender and effort, this is what in Zen Buddhism they call as effortless effort. You put the effort, but also there is that effortless aspect. A great Siddha, a Tamil Siddha, he said, Tungamal Tungi, means you're sleeping, but you're at the same time not sleeping. These are all beautiful expressions trying to explain the same concept. So we are going to focus on these two things. One is building that inner strength, because when you get connected with the infinite, that makes you a very, very strong person from inside. And number two, taking charge of your life means you create whatever you want in life. This combination is what is missing today. So if you take the Bhagavad Gita, you find that, in the 18th chapter of the Gita, he says, wherever there is Arjuna and Krishna, there is prosperity, there is peace, there is abundance, everything you get, all the blessings. Arjuna represents the effort in you, the capacity to do effort in you. See, the entire Bhagavad Gita is actually within you only. All the Vedas are within you. The Mahabharata war is the inner war which they are talking about. Arjuna is also within you. Krishna is also within you. Now, as and when the context comes, I keep revealing one aspect of this wisdom. So, what does Arjuna represent within you? That capacity to put in effort, because Arjuna was a person who was a great achiever in life. He had achieved so much in life externally. He was the number one archer during his times, one of the greatest warriors. That is represented by Arjuna. And what does Krishna represent? Krishna represents the infinite. The surrendering to the infinite and becoming strong from within. And where that combination is there, it becomes an undefeatable combination. It is so beautifully said in the Mahabharata war. Karna, he asks Bhishma, he says, why is it I am so skillful and I'm so good in archery, I have so much of skill, but why is it that he was defeated by Arjuna 2-3 times even before the war. That's what the story says. And why is it that I cannot win this? Because deep within him he felt he'll not be able to win. So why? So Bhishma said, you're right, because these two people are on the other side, that combination, Arjuna and Krishna. And wherever Arjuna and Krishna are there, it is impossible. You cannot win there. It's very, very symbolic. So Arjuna is this capacity to sow the right seeds in life, to act dynamically. And Krishna represents that infinite, surrendering to that infinite and becoming one with the infinite. The spiritual potential. Arjuna is the action potential, the worldly potential. And Krishna is the spiritual potential. And when you combine these two, your whole life will get transformed. So how to develop the inner strength and how to take charge of your life? These have to go hand in hand. Why is it that this wisdom, this ancient wisdom is getting lost today? Why is it that more youngsters are not taking this up? Because they don't know that this wisdom actually helps you to take charge of your life. This wisdom gives you so much of strength. That part they don't know, because his entire wisdom has been misrepresented. So there are so many principles. Now out of that I'm going to select, I'm going to cover here and there a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita and relate it to this inner strength and taking charge of your life. So if you take in the broad sense, as I told you, when you get connected with the infinite, you build the inner strength. Now, as far as taking charge of life is concerned, you should understand that your life is like the garden. I gave you that garden example where you are sowing seeds all the time, and based on what kind of seeds you sow in life, you get that particular kind of results. If your seed is not proper, then the tree and the fruits will not be okay, will not be to your satisfaction. So what are the different kinds of seeds which you can sow in order to transform your life? That we will be seeing. So when we say different kinds of seeds, they are, why am I saying different kinds of seeds? At different levels you can sow so many seeds. For example, the seed of speech. How do you speak? That determines so much in life. Because when your speech is constantly negative, you're sowing negative seeds in life. So that will have a bearing on your relationships, that will have a bearing on your mind also. Because before others hear your words, you hear your own words. So in terms of speech, what kind of seeds are you sowing? In terms of your actions, what kind of actions are you performing, positive or negative? In terms of the prana shakti, are you taking in more prana into your life, or are you depleting your prana shakti, the life force energy? Similarly, the emotions. Are you encouraging more and more positive emotions, or are you encouraging more and more negative emotions? And then your thought structure. Are you encouraging negative thoughts or positive thoughts? And then at the ego level, are you feeding your ego all the time, becoming more and more selfish? Or are you working for a higher cause? And at the spiritual level, are you lowering your consciousness? Or are you doing things which can uplift your consciousness so that you can become one with the infinite? So these are all the various kinds of seeds which you are sowing in life today. Today, all these things are happening unconsciously. In those 10-day healing program also, I was mentioning about the Prajna Shakti, the awareness. So without awareness, you're sowing seeds. So one of the principles which have been given by these great masters is that you are the creator of your life. You are the creator of your destiny. How? You are creating your destiny by sowing various seeds in life. Whether you are doing it consciously, that is with awareness, or without awareness, that is the question. But you are doing it all the time. Now in psychology, what they say is that most of our thoughts, more than 95% of our thoughts are repetitive in nature, which means whatever we thought yesterday, 95% of those thoughts we just continue to think, we continue to entertain today also. And whatever we are thinking today, 95 or probably even more, we continue to entertain the next day also. Why is this? Because there is absolutely no awareness. It's a mechanical life which we are leading. So invest a little bit of your time every week in gaining these truths and build your inner strength. So when we talk of inner strength, we are talking of at all these levels. Similarly, when we talk of action, when we talk of taking charge of your life, creating your destiny, again we are talking of at all levels of your personality. If you just take one aspect alone and say, I am doing that, but have I become spiritual? No. It has to be an overall development. So with this introduction, we will get on with the verses next week. I'll pick up some verses and through that I'll be giving various principles. But I want you to first reflect on the principles which I have given you today. It is very important, and start practicing them. Don't go on dwelling on the negative. Assert the positive. This was number one. I'm just recapitulating so that you don't forget, The number two is that the combination of surrender and effort. So surrender without effort will lead to laziness, passivity. Effort without surrender will lead to ego. That's what is happening. Many people who achieve in life, but they have absolutely no surrender. They start becoming so selfish and egoistic, and they do a lot of harm to the world. So that combination is something which you need to develop. You need to develop Arjuna within you. You need to develop Krishna also within you. So instead of merely seeing these stories outside, start absorbing them within you. The other point which I had given you was the seeds which you are sowing in life, the 5 or 6 kinds of seeds: your speech, your actions, your emotions, your thoughts, at your ego level and at your spiritual level. So do some homework today. Start finding out how is what kind of words you use, how is your speech, how are your actions, how are your emotions, how are your thoughts at the pranic level. Is your breathing deep or is it shallow? So find out. If you do a little bit of homework like this, what will happen is you will be able to absorb these messages as and when they come better. What do I mean by seeds at the ego level? See, everything which you do in life, you're doing it. You can either do it to boost your ego, or you can surrender it to a higher cause and work for a higher cause. It is up to you. Suddenly I was reading an article, a beautiful article, where this was written by a lady. She says, for decades, for years together, we ladies, we have been cooking, we have been taking care of the house. I'm talking of homemakers. We have been doing that silently, without any big fuss. And now during this lockdown period, when the men have gotten into it, just one day they clean something, or one day they cook, and then they make a big show of it. They take photographs of themselves washing vessels or of cooking, and then they put it in the social media and all this, But this is what we've been doing for years, silently. It was a very beautiful article. So even that small action when we do, immediately we want to boost our ego, build take the credit and see, this is what I've done. It's very, very amusing. So these are all the different kinds of seeds which we are sowing in life. So examine your life and see what are the kind of seeds which you are sowing. And then as we go along, I'll be giving you one by one, because these principles which I'll be giving are very deep. And even 1 or 2 of them, if you start practicing, they'll make such a big difference in your life. Now, we will take up a few questions. Last 2 weeks, I've been answering a lot of questions which have come to me. There are still many remaining. So we'll take up a few more today, and then we'll have a meditation session. So last week, I was answering this question, a set of questions which Malarviri Karthikeyanji had asked. And one question she has asked is, when I started to meditate regularly, I felt that I got into more sufferings and tough period. Is it due to our karmas coming out? What is the reason? I have also heard most meditators go through such dark phase, dark night of the soul. Is it true for everyone who starts earnestly on the spiritual path? So I have seen many say meditation is not pleasant for some people. I feel it might be due to the sufferings they face and they get intimidated and give up. I too have experienced the same and had discontinued sadhanas few times. How should one motivate oneself to continue despite the problems? Now this is a nice question, because there are many things which I can explain through this. First of all, this is a misconception which people have. That is, when we do sadhana, when we do meditation. Meditation is one sadhana, it's a deeper aspect of the sadhana. But when we do any kind of sadhana, people say that the difficulties will increase in life, and later on good things will start happening. Now this is a total misconception. In the ancient wisdom, they have talked about poison coming out first and then nectar coming when you do the sadhana. They are not talking of they are not talking of the external things. They are talking of what is happening within you. So I want you to carefully understand this. The very idea of sadhana and meditation is to completely tackle all the problems in life. How? Not by external methods, but by removing those blockages, the karmic blockages which are there within you. See, if you're facing any problem, any difficulty in life, now the question is, why is it that you have attracted that difficulty or problem into your life? It is because of some karmas. Karma means your past actions which have produced certain impressions in your life. So I don't mean merely morally good or bad. It can be any action. See, every action has a reaction. So whatever seeds which we sow in life, I was telling you the 5 types of seeds are there which we keep sowing, they all have repercussions in our own life. Now generally when the effects come, we complain because we don't know what are the impressions which we have stored, what are the past karmas. So sadhana is a way by which we burn up all these karmas and we dissolve these karmic blocks, the blockages which these karmas have created. And when we burn up those karmas, you will find that the situation, the difficulties actually disappear and positive things start happening in your life. There are 2 ways of doing this. One is, see, every karma can be burnt up by suffering in life. But the problem is, every time you suffer, the reactions which you generate to that suffering will be negative, and therefore you will create 100 more karmas. So this way will not work. This is what they call as a samsaric cycle, where you face a difficulty, where you create the karma, therefore difficulties come, and then again you react negatively, you create more karma. This keeps on going. The other way is through sadhana, spiritual practice. So when you do meditation, when you do spiritual practice, what happens? You burn up those karmas and dissolve those karmic blockages. And when that happens, then the external problems will automatically get set right. So now your question is, it's your experience, so it's not a hearsay also. Plus you also given others experiences that when you do meditation, suddenly you find a lot of things going wrong outside. Now why is that? That is because when the meditation or sadhana is not properly done, then you bring out all the karmas or impressions to the surface, but you don't burn them up properly. See, these impressions are lying deep within you. When you do sadhana, they will all come to the surface. And then when you don't burn them up properly, when you don't release them properly, then that can cause some issues in life. Whatever issues which you are supposed to face in the future can come now itself. It is possible. So the reason there is not because of meditation, That is because the meditation was not done properly. And that is why, it is said in the scriptures that sadhana will never be fruitful without a guru. Who is a guru? A guru is not one who merely gives you information, who gives you mere knowledge. For that you don't require a person. As I told you today, you have internet, you just go and search, you get everything. Guru means dispeller of darkness. Gu means darkness, Ru means light. One who awakens the Shakti in you and teaches you the right way of doing sadhana, spiritual practice. And what is that right way? The right way is burning up your negativities and releasing all your karmas, releasing all your negativities. So it is a science. That is why we should not try to dabble with these things on our own. It's like, self-medication. If you take a drug, now it can, there's a lot of side effects also that drugs can create. So that's why the doctor is very careful about the dosage. Of course, when we talk of the right way of sadhana and meditation, there are no side effects. But there is a chance that you may not do it properly. So what I would request you and anyone who is facing these issues is you start doing the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana. That's why I've tried to simplify it. You just play the audio material, you sit with your eyes closed and you start doing the deep breathing. And when these impressions come out, do the deep breathing and release them. After every round or every session of sadhana, you should feel very, very light, because one layer of karmas would be burnt up. Of course, you have thousands and thousands of such layers. That's why it takes a little time before the results show up externally. So this is a science. If you do it in an unscientific way, it will not help. It's like, you take something like car driving. If you just sit in a car and start driving, you will definitely meet with an accident. You will cause a lot of chaos, and it's like that, Whereas if you learn from someone, from an expert, and step by step when you go, the moving gradually is very important. If you do it that way, then the same car driving will be a wonderful experience. So this is a misconception that sufferings will come out. Remember, sadhana, any type of sadhana including meditation, is to remove your suffering from life, not to increase your suffering. So how should one motivate oneself to continue despite the problems? This is the very motivation. So now that you have got connected here and you started gaining the ancient wisdom, slowly you will begin to understand the deeper principles of sadhana, and you will start doing the sadhana in the right way. Right from day one, right from session one, you will start finding positive results, because you're changing the energy field inside. Okay? The next question which you've asked is, I also feel overtly sensitive to things and people around after being in the spiritual path. Is it natural? Yes, because when you are in the spiritual path, what will happen is as you grow spiritually, your prajna shakti, I told you, your awareness will increase. Now when your awareness increases, it is not awareness about what is happening inside you alone, but awareness about everything will increase. You will become acutely aware and conscious of things happening around you, of the suffering which people go through, everything. So it's very much natural, but you have to be cautious, because when you start becoming fully aware of everything, there is a chance that you may get involved. And that is why I had emphasized on the other aspect of sadhana, which is Sakshi Bhav, the witnessing attitude. So when you become more sensitive towards others' problems, you need to be careful about not getting affected by them. See, sensitivity is of two types. One is being sensitive to others' issues, others' problems. That is good, provided you learn this detachment. The other is a sensitive reaction, that is getting affected by what people are doing to you. That is not good. That is not a spiritual quality at all. So by building, that's why we're having this theme of developing the inner strength. So through spiritual practice and sadhana, you will become very strong within you. The next question is, when one advances on the spiritual path, he or she feels little superior than others. How to overcome the spiritual ego? Excellent question. This is very, very valuable. This is so important to every sadhak. The spiritual ego, So ego is of two types. One is worldly ego and the other is spiritual ego. So when you achieve so many things in the world, you develop an ego over it. Now, the same thing can happen at the spiritual level also. When you do a little bit of sadhana, you start getting positive effects in life. You gain a little bit of mind control, and your powers are awakened to a certain extent. The moment that happens, there is a very good chance that you may develop an ego over it. So how do you overcome this? It is only by surrendering to the higher that you can overcome the ego. That is why in spirituality, right from word go, right from day one, they say you have to practice both. You have to practice the sadhana, effort. You also have to practice surrender, which is also one aspect of sadhana only. So sadhana has both these aspects. One is putting in your effort and the other is to surrender. So whenever you find your spiritual ego rising, immediately you say, it is all because of whatever I have achieved, it is all because of that Supreme, the Infinite. It is God's grace, it is my Guru's grace that I am able to achieve all this. If you go to the Bhagavad Gita, no less a person than Lord Krishna, who was an avatar, who was a born enlightened being, what does he say? He gives some of the greatest truths and then he says, thus I have heard. From whom? From wise people. Thus have I heard. And if you go to the Upanishads, some of the most profound statements these masters make, and then that person says, thus have I heard from my masters. You see any spiritual master, he will never have this ego, spiritual ego. He'll always be very humble, down to earth, normal, Vidya Vinaya Sampanni means, Vidya means knowledge. True knowledge will give you Vinaya, humility. So the moment the spiritual ego rises, again use this Prajna Shakti, awareness, and assert the positive. Surrender the fruits of your efforts to the higher. It is a very important practice. When we do our meditation sessions, in the end, especially during the deeper sessions of meditation where a lot of healing has happened, I always say, offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Now, why do I say that? It is an antidote to the spiritual ego. So your mind is actually very complex, and if you're not careful, the ego will take over at any time. So in the Upanishad it is said, one who revels in ignorance, he is in blinding darkness. Andam tamaha means blinding darkness. But then he says, but one who revels in knowledge is in greater darkness. Now you may wonder, then why should I gain the knowledge? He is referring to the spiritual ego only. That's not true knowledge. One who revels in that knowledge means one who, in that context, what it means is one who starts developing an ego over his knowledge, over his spiritual achievements. He is in greater darkness, he says. So if worldly ego can bind you to a certain extent, spiritual ego will bind you more. But you cannot escape. You will have to travel that path. That is where surrender to that infinite, surrender to your Guru, surrender to the higher helps. It's a very, very nice question which she had asked. And this is so useful for everyone, So again, there are lots of questions. Every week, I'll, after the discourse, I will take up one or two questions and then we will have meditation. Okay, so now we'll have meditation. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. When you breathe deeply, do it in a very, very relaxed way. Let go of all your stiffness. Oh. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. I invoke that infinite supreme being within me. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. I surrender my ego to that infinite supreme reality within me. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. I bow down completely and surrender my ego to that supreme infinite being within me. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. the infinite being present inside me is all powerful. I surrender my ego and get connected with that infinite being. I derive my strength from that infinite source within me. I derive my inner strength from that all-powerful, infinite being from within. From this moment onwards, I choose to use this inner strength to make my life more positive and useful to others. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Let your consciousness come back slowly. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Open and close your palms a few times. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup both your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, your cheeks, forehead, top of the head, the back of the head and neck. And very slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So we had a good session today. I have given a few important principles. So do reflect on them. And the most important thing is the combination of surrender and effort. So never go to any of these two extremes. We'll be seeing more and more of how to develop this inner strength and how to create a life according to your choice in the coming weeks. So thank you. We'll meet next Sunday.